This is the first of 6 podcasts. These are really brief. We just wanted to create these to give you little snippets to get you introduced to what we're trying to do with the scaffolding in marriage. I'm Stephen Frew. Welcome to this series. I'm going to do 6. The first one we're calling Where We're At. This is about my observations. I don't mean to be cynical. I don't mean to be negative or anything else. Marriage is great. I want to say what I do not see in most marriage conversations is any new ideas. I don't get a lot of new ideas around marriage. I get new ideas in the therapy community about strategies and techniques, how to communicate better, for example, or what the systems of this family and the extended family or the generational family, what they tell us about the identified patient and how we can work with that. Those strategies, those techniques are marvelous, and there's some very competent therapists out there using them. So this isn't about knowing more than they know, because I respect their work. This is about offering a new way of imagining the trajectory from the beginning, which we call love's origin, what culturally is called falling in love, which also be called the Big Bang between two people, which the cosmic origin when energies come together between that moment until death us do part. Those of you and those of us who are interested in longevity and its benefits, the new learning, the new access to deep, to depth, connecting wise, to deep connection, intimacy, over time, sustainable. That stuff is what scaffolding is about, because we see love's origin, that falling in love part, we see that as potentially being able to be reborn through every one of the 4 phases of marriage, given new life, and informing and energizing what's happening at that phase, rather than diagnosing and analyzing what's wrong with whoever. We see the new energy possibility of coming in, and so at 86 years old, I'm a different man and a new man with the woman that I love and been with 35 years, and she is a new woman, and we are saying, who are you today, and who am I, and what does this mean? How do I touch you? How do I hear you? What are we doing? What does it mean that we're going to my daughter's on Sunday? What does that mean to you? What does that mean to me? A lot of stuff, okay? So, where we're at in marriage, let me say, most marriage conversations today are about as interesting as watching grass grow. We say, well, tell me about your latest vacation, or how your children are doing, that kind of stuff. All good, but not very captivating for a guy like me. All these are legitimate, yes, and belong to what we'll share in the next podcast as the elementary phase. Marriages have a roughly 50% divorce rate and shelf life that really tells us that something is heavily missing. 70% of marriages we call marginal. If you look at a bell curve, 10 to 15% are marriages maybe made in hell that should never have happened. 10 to 15% on the other end of the bell curve are marriages, maybe you could say made in heaven, that they could teach us. They're people who are really doing it. But 70% of the bell curve they're getting by, and they're wondering, but not out loud, if I'm making the right choice. And the trouble with marginal marriages is if you live in one, they're the fertile ground for senility, for emotional senility, for adapting, for okay, sure, whatever. They're the fertile ground for that kind of thing. And if you're listening to this, you probably aren't volunteering to have a senile relationship. And I'm not certainly either, and neither is my wife. So, let's see, what do I have to say? Okay, we want to trigger in each of you that are interested enough to listen to these podcasts a whole new attitude towards learning. There was a business consultant, Peter Senge, who said, he was at SC, I think, He said, I'm not interested in working with any business that isn't a learning community. He meant that he, first of all, wants to know the team that's driving this thing, are they learners? Are they open? Are they eager? Are they hungry? Or are they looking just for a new technique for some high-priced business consultant that's not going to work anyway? So what we have today in business, there are young people, men and women, who are learners and are always looking for what's next, what's new. In fact, the guy that's recording this, Rad, just came in this morning with a new camera and trying to teach me about all the new possibilities of that new camera, the 16 or something, whatever it is. So look, in marriage, we get to do that. If you're interested, if you're not, this podcast is not for you. Have a good day. We'll give you another one next week.